Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, Principal Atmospheric Scientist at Nutrient Ag Solutions, and I want to thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. Well, I don't imagine many of you across the Carolinas will find this map that surprising. It's showing you the national precipitation rank from May 2018 through April 2019. That 12-month time period right now ranks as the wettest on record for the whole country. And I'll be honest with you, North Carolina, you helped set this record. When you look here, this is the statewide precipitation rank. Each state from May 18 through April 19. And what do we see here? We can see extremely wet conditions across much of the eastern half of the country. About the only place that was dry was the Pacific Northwest. Well, certainly with the major hurricanes that made landfall, plus all of the precipitation we've recently been receiving, things have continued to be quite wet. Let's take a look over the last 14 days. Look in the middle part of the country. There's a wide swath in the middle part of the country that's picked up an additional 5 to, in some locations, over 20 inches of rain. And each one of these systems has progressed toward the east. You can look at the precipitation amounts as you go from the western side of the Carolinas over toward the eastern side. Much, much wetter in the Appalachian Mountains, as we'd expect this time of year. And then progressively getting drier over the last 14 days as you get over toward the east coast here. Such that on the western side, we've picked up just at the beginning of May here, anywhere between 3 and 4 inches, and much less as we get over toward the coastal region. And one of the things I'm concerned about is this. We've noticed to the south here, getting into South Carolina, down into Georgia, northern part of Florida, and parts of Alabama, that we have continued to see our drought pressures stick around. In fact, we saw some degradation in drought in the last update here. And this is something I'm quite concerned about, especially given the pattern we're about to move into. Now, this looking over the last 72 hours, yes, we had some stronger thunderstorms that moved through. So we picked up quite a bit of precipitation in regions with these thunderstorms over the last 72 hours. But it was nothing like we saw down here in parts of the lower Mississippi River Valley down in the Delta, where some locations picked up an additional 10 inches of rainfall. Well, the cooler air that was occupying much of the north central plains is finally pressed all the way to the east coast, and temperatures have really cooled down as we progress toward the end of our Mother's Day weekend, which was kind of accompanied with these stronger storms to begin with. And the question is, where are we going with this? Well, I got asked a lot recently just to try to help people understand. They just kept asking me, why? Why is it doing this year compared to last year? So I want to just give you a big overview of this, okay? Now, I could talk a lot about El Nino. I could talk a lot about the Madden-Julian Oscillation. I could talk about all these big global teleconnections, but ultimately, they all boil down to understanding one thing. What does atmospheric motion look like compared to normal? Well, May of 2018, the jet stream had retreated into Canada. Weather patterns have calmed down, and much of the United States had this rapid progression of planting our crops. Look at the global wind pattern in May of 2018. See it over there on the left? We can see that the winds deep through the atmosphere were much, much calmer. Therefore, the pattern could get blocked up easier. May 2019, entirely different story. Weather patterns are progressing very quickly, and things are moving very quickly, and the weather patterns are changing often because the global atmospheric angular momentum is high. Now, what does all of that mean? Well, right now it means this. This is a current view of the jet stream moving across the Pacific Ocean into the U.S. And look at what it's doing. Very, very fast pocket of winds moving through the central part of the Pacific, splits into a ridge out west, a trough down here over the southwest, and then this pesky, annoying trough that we're dealing with here along the east coast throughout the day on Monday. Well, what this is telling me is we have got to be aware of what this is going to do. These strong winds in the jet stream, what are they going to do in terms of progressing this ridge here toward the east? And what does this trough over the kind of the southwest, getting here over the parts of Baja, California, mean for weather across the United States and specifically for the Carolinas? That's what we have to discuss in this video. You see, so far, when we just look from March 1st through May 11th, we have had a very early progression of spring across the southeast and across the Carolinas. We have more often than not favored a pattern like this, where there's been a trough here, colder coming through the plains, a lot of cloud cover and strong to severe storms across Texas, but this protective ridge has brought in some heat at times, and we have rapidly accumulated growing degree day units, which means we've moved quickly through our spring so far, and spring has certainly felt like it's arrived early. Well, the one thing I have to tell you is the cold weather that's in place now, we'll get ready to go right back into the pattern you just saw me draw right here. Now, before we get there, this is what the next 5 days looks like. We see that overall, as the strong Pacific jet hits the west coast, yeah, things get very active there. Middle section of the country calms down, and this is all we're dealing with. We have this system that's leaving, going through the northeast right now today, which is why we're still bringing some widely scattered showers and maybe some thunderstorms into the Carolinas. But after that, things are really quite calm for much of the rest of the week. So that's your 5-day outlook. What about temperatures? The colder weather through days 1 through 5 that you see here, well, this will slowly be progressing out into the open ocean, and warmth here on this ridge that's building right now to the Central Plains, getting back into the Rocky Mountains. Well, look at this. By the end of the week, really the middle to end of the week, we go right back into this flow pattern, southeast ridge, warmer than average conditions. And it turns out the weather over the Carolinas is setting up the central United States to be just an incredible light show with severe weather, lots of lightning, big hail, tornadoes. It's all happening at the end of this week. That pattern you see right over here on the right-hand side of your screen is one that may stick around through the beginning of June. And that's incredibly important for the progress of our crops in the Carolinas and around the rest of the country. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. This is just an animation looking out over the next 10 days of total accumulated precip. Did you notice? Let me play it again. Do you notice that what we start off with here at the beginning of the time period really doesn't change too much over the next 10 days? And that's simply because all of the action is going to be centered right here. And we're going to expect to see a lot of rain in the northern Corn Belt, a lot of severe weather right through the Wheat Belt, getting all the way down into Texas and Oklahoma, where we're going to see just the Central Plains light up with severe weather. That's our bigger picture outlook here. What are some of the details? Well, let me just go ahead and click play on this. This is going to get us through the early morning hours on Monday. See there? Just some widely scattered showers as this upper level trough finally lifts off. That's all we're really dealing with here to start off the week. Our temperatures are slowly going to rebound throughout the week, starting off cooler than average, finally building up toward a warm anomaly toward the end of the week. Now, day 4 through 10 precipitation, you can see the presence of the southeastern ridge picking up on the drier pattern, while things in the Central Plains really start to light up. And because of the strong Pacific jet, we really bring in some wetter conditions here. So the southeastern ridge is the major player moving forward. Now we got to watch it set up, so watch with me. Ready? Clicking play here. This is the deeper trough that keeps us cool to begin the week across much of the Carolinas and almost the entirety of the East Coast. But see the ridge building in the middle part of the country? That by Wednesday, Thursday, into Friday has now moved all the way over to the east. And this is a pattern that storm chasers in the middle part of the country fall in love with. Deep trough coming out of the Four Corners region, big ridge that builds up here over the southeast. That's the moisture pump. This is the trigger. We light up the middle part of the country with a bunch of severe weather. But this ridge is the protector. Let me get rid of my drawings and just highlight it for you. There's your ridge. That ridge, watch, as I go from the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Look, it's just not going anywhere in the European ensemble forecast, which means the heat will get on and it'll stay on, and the probability of precipitation will be relatively low compared to average. If it does come through, it'll be hit or miss showers and thunderstorms, some of which could, of course, be severe. But this pattern is one that lights up the middle part of the country. Keep that in mind because we are already flooded. Remember, I showed you that a moment ago. We're already flooded in that part of the country, and that has a big impact on crops that we grow in the Carolinas. So what does the European model say? Well, here's the early morning scattered showers and storms that are still in place. They go on off with that trough. So there we go. I just got you right there through Monday into early Tuesday. We progressed through Wednesday, drier. Thursday, drier pattern. Maybe some widely scattered showers you could be on the lookout for toward the end of the week. But look at this. By the time we get into Friday, big southeast ridge is in control. Watch the mid part of the country. I know it's not the Carolinas. Watch the mid part of the country. Exploding with severe weather right there. We may get some showers and storms toward the end of the week through the Carolinas. But with each one of these systems that goes through, we're going to have to see how the ridge protects us here in the southeast along the East Coast in terms of getting these showers and storms. Now, with the heat that's coming in and the humidity that's coming at the end of the week, we will get our normal daytime convection. So the storms will pop in certain places, but this is not the big systems that are moving through the middle part of the country. So when we put it all together over the next 15 days, map on the left, this is the European model. See the drier bias here? Wet in the center part of the country. GEFS, that's the GFS ensemble. Again, drier pattern, wet in the middle part of the country, just like that. That's the cue that Mother Nature's telling us that the pattern's about to get very active in the midsection due to the large southeast ridge. Now, that's a ridge that I'm concerned about setting up and developing throughout much of summer. And if it does, this is a big if, but please listen, if it does, I'm worried about drought problems later this year. You're going to go from your wettest year on record, but if this pattern sticks around and doesn't relent, we'll be talking a whole lot more about drying out and potential for drought development. We're already dry in South Carolina through Georgia and northern Florida. I'm just concerned about it. I'm watching it with you. Okay, I'll keep you up to date. Just to show you what the first week of June looks like, remember last week in our update we talked about the longer range forecast. Look, I still see it. I still see that active pattern. And that's why we see the midsection of the country staying wet. So that's something to be on the lookout for. We'll keep updating you each week with what we're seeing this progression look like. With that, we're going to wrap it up right there. We at Nutrient Ag Solutions and the AgCarolina Farm Credit System hope you look forward to our next forecast video coming out next week. Thank you.